Good morning, and thank you for staying tuned to Sunrise Arts. If you just tuned in, hello there, how are you? And I hope that you're having a lovely start to your day. Welcome to the Twitter Jabs too, and we continue the conversation that is leading up to the Day of the African Child that is slated to take place on the 16th of June 2022. Well, this year's theme is eliminating harmful practices affecting children, and today I am joined by Miss Diana Tibesigwa, and she's the advocacy and influencing specialist from Plan International. So what Plan International does is advances children's rights and equality for girls in more than 75 countries. Good morning, Miss Diana.
Good morning.
And thank you for coming to CTV.
Thank you for hosting us.
All right, just for the benefit of the viewer, before we just dive into the conversation, just help us understand what the mandate of Plan International is.
Okay, good morning, viewers.
Yes.
My name is Diana Tibesigwa, and I work with Plan International as the advocacy and influencing specialist. To the new viewers, because we have been in media,
Yes.
We are always in media, but to the new viewers, Plan International is an independent humanitarian organization that advances the rights of children,
Yes.
and equality for girls.
Yes.
So in that process, we make sure that we work with children themselves, children, adolescents, and young people. We have our supporters, and we work with them throughout our programs to make sure that we address the root causes of gender equality.
Yes.
And make sure that children have access to justice, and make sure that they enjoy the rights of being children throughout their childhood until when they grow into adults.
Yes.
So the fact that we are established on the rights-based approach, the Day of the African Child then becomes an important day and a very good platform for
Yes.
us as an organization to make sure that we come out and use it as a platform to advance and speak more about what we believe in as an organization in terms of advancing the rights of children, especially girls.
All right, thank you so much. So now let's dive into the Day of the African Child. What is it and what is its main objective?
The Day of the African Child is not new. As you know, that this day has a basis as to why it is celebrated. This kick-started from the protest that happened in South Africa,
Yes.
in Soweto, in 1976. Where children and young people rose up and demonstrated the inequalities around education, and also then the unfair apartheid policies that were affecting them. So during their march against the government, then government came up and assassinated
Yes.
all children who were involved
Yes.
in that march. So since that was actually a tragedy,
Yes, it was.
for the country, for the continent as Africa, and so then since then the Day of the African Child was established by the Organization of African Unity, now the AU.
Yes.
And it is celebrated first of all to remember and recognize the courage that these young people
Yes.
had, first of all, to walk and protest against the inequalities. But also, since then, the Africa as a continent has designated this day to also remember and discuss and talk about the other forms of deprivation,
Yes.
against children that are happening within our communities and in our jurisdiction.
Yes.
To address and they are not addressed. They have turned out to be like practice within these communities. So this day then does not only stop at looking at
What
or
happened?
remembering what
Yes.
the other children went through, but looking at all forms of deprivation and abuse that children face, you know, within
Yes.
the African continent.
All right.
Yes.
So for my next question, what are the challenges, what challenges do African children face the most, and what are the measures that Plan International, what have they done to employ in solving some of these, you know, some of these challenges?
Maybe before even going to the challenges, I would like to again move back to about the Day of the African Child.
Yes.
That every year there is a theme that is established by the African Committee of Experts
Yes.
on the welfare and the rights of children. And if I take you back to the conversation that we've been having about the different forms of deprivation, those different forms of deprivation against these children, the establishment of the AU, you know,
Yes.
they had to move a step ahead to make sure that as Africa, how do they come together to make sure that they address the rights of children?
Yes.
That's where you see, for example, they established the African Charter on the welfare and rights of children, where
Yes.
most of the African countries have actually subscribed to it. They have ratified, you know, some of those treaties
Yes.
as African countries, and they have committed to make sure that they put in place interventions and programs that are going to help in addressing the rights, you
Yes,
know,
of
of
children,
children,
yes.
including providing quality and inclusive education,
Yes.
health, and make sure that, you know, children develop well, become adults, and continue to contribute to the development
Yes.
of their countries.
Yes.
And this year's theme, we're actually looking at elimination of harmful practices, and we are looking at policies and practices since 2013.
2013, yes.
Why 2013 is that during 2013, as they celebrated the Day of the African Child, the theme was also looking at harmful practices.
Yes.
You know, so since then, every time we get into commemoration of the Day of the African Child, countries, you know, at country level and also at a continent level, they come out and commit and make commitments on how they plan to respond to different challenges that children face.
Yes.
So since 2013, we are tracking progress on how have we participated, how do we rate ourselves as a country on the commitments that we have made in responding to the issues of children.
Yes.
So we want to look at which policies are in place
Yes.
that have responded to these issues, which practices have we worked on too that have been like harmful, affecting children,
Yes.
and now we are seeing, you know, a trend of change within our communities, being responsive in terms of responding to the issues that are affecting children. So this day is a very big day.
Yes, it is.
To our children, because if you look at the rising of children, it means that children were also demanding that their voices should be heard.
Yes.
So it is important also people to know that child participation is a right. So children rising up and demanding for their rights, it is actually their right to speak up. But these are things that have not actually socially been accepted in our communities.
Especially in the African community. Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
Never speak up against your parents. Don't talk back at them. Don't challenge them.
Exactly.
They always say you don't know what you want. You don't know.
Exactly. So we have grown up in that kind of
Yes.
context, and we want to change the narrative through, you know, speaking to the gender and socially constructed norms that have been tagged around children, including that one of,
Yes.
of participation and being able to express themselves, you know, in the way they feel.
Yes.
Like. So this day also we provide a platform for children, you know,
Yes.
in communities to bring out those voices,
Yes.
you know, on what is affecting them and what they think should be done for them to be in position to enjoy their childhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much. And then what activities does Plan International have in preparation and observation of the Day of the African Child this month?
Yeah. Before also going to the
Yeah.
activities, I'll take you back to the challenges that you think
Yes.
children of Africa are facing. Your question that came before. there are a number of challenges that African children
are
face.
facing.
I want to tell you that studies have been conducted, and 72% of people who have responded to some of those studies have actually heard about at least an abuse,
yes,
of a child within their communities or in the areas where they stay. And 62% of these people believe that actually the deprivation of children is on the rise. So if we have such statistics that are informing us or that are warning us that, hey, look where you're going, there is this and this and this, how are we supposed to prepare ourselves and respond
to those challenges,
to such issues? For example, in Uganda, we have, for example, 90% of our children, in Uganda, have gone through any form of deprivation. Let it be rape, let it be physical violence, let it be defilement. Like 90% of the children who are in this country have at least gone through some form of deprivation. Yes. So when we look at those statistics, they are so alarming. They're not just statistics. They require that we set in and respond, to such issues. And responding requires multi-sectoral approaches, yes, and interventions. So looking at the day itself as a Day of the African Child and looking at the harmful practices, as an institution, there are harmful practices that we actually focus on, or we want to focus on, because they have turned out to be a very big problem in society. For example, if you look at teenage pregnancies and child marriage, these are things that are happening within our communities, and there are practices that are done by people that we know. There are practices that are done like in front of our eyes, before our hands, and we have not taken steps as citizens to respond and support and help, these children. So it has become a practice. Yes. Someone just talks about of 25% of children in Uganda, get pregnant. And you will find that 15%, of girls are married off before the age of 18 years. Yes. But as a country, we have a legal framework, through our mother policy, the constitution, yes, which provides for the age of child marriage at 18 years. But we have continued to see in communities where marriages have been officiated, yes, by leaders, actually, not even just mere people in the community, but by leaders. They have been officiated. And I want to tell you that those spaces have been even protected sometimes by police, gazetted, yes, and protected, and children have been married off. But we also have a number of children who have just moved to families of men, and we consider that, marriage, for as long as you're involving this child who is below the age of 18 years, you're staying with them, and it is called what? It is called marriage. So many of them, and they are married to big men. Yes. There are thousands of them who are, in that category. So for us this day, we want to, first of all, share with the public out there that the magnitude of this problem is actually big. How do we then use this platform, the Day of the African Child, to look at the situation that we are facing as a country, and we re-strategize, because a number of strategies before, yes, have been put in place. Can we re-strategize? Can we check our policies? How are they being implemented? Yes. What needs to be done? Who is not putting in effort? And with the coming of COVID-19,
made things worse.
Not even worse, but COVID-19 was unearthing what was not seen by the public. So it just opened up a Pandora, box, to show that this is actually what is existing in our communities. Yes. Because we cannot just say that, child marriage just started in COVID-19.
No, it didn't.
So it has exposed, the system, the parenting aspect of it within our communities. And I think it is time for us, as a country, as different stakeholders, to stand up and speak and stop and put in place interventions that are going to help us us reduce incidences of child marriages and teenage pregnancy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You did mention something when you said that it has unearthed things that have already been happening. So how can we as citizens play our role? Yeah. How can we play our role? Because the Constitution, you know, says it very clearly. There are policies in place that protect children's rights. But how can we play our role?
In my previous submission, I have mentioned that the issues that are happening now are not new things.
Yes.
And there are root causes of such issues, of seeing teenage pregnancies, of seeing child marriages.
Yes.
These issues that you see are socially constructed, you know, behaviors and norms that have existed within our communities for a very long period of time, and they are becoming persistent.
Yes.
You know, so if you talk about, for example, the gender relations, you know, within how do they treat a girl, how do they treat a boy, for example. I've been listening, I think this morning, on a submission where they were mentioning that we still have communities where girls are not even allowed to go to school. It means those kind of girls will be married off. We have been discussing in the morning the transition of girls from primary to secondary. In between there, you know, you find that children who have been in primary, not all of them will transit to secondary, and majority of them are girls. Where are they? Actually, statistics also have it that we have a number of children who are neither in school, but also they are not in their homes. So,
yes.
Which
so where
means they, yes, where are they?
Yes.
Majority of them have been married off.
Yes.
To adults, actually, who don't even recognize that this child has a very big role to play, the contribution of their country, but also as them as children. Yes. They deserve to be treated as children and enjoy their rights and be in position to help, you know, themselves and make decisions as of when they should get married and get pregnant.
All right.
Yes. So as different stakeholders, we have a role to play. You're asking, like, what should we do? There are different things that we need to do as stakeholders. First of all, at community level. In the communities is where we find these children. There are different structures within those communities. And the first structure is a home, where you have a parent or a caregiver, where this person is coming from. So what is your responsibility of you? Of that child. If you look at the things that actually take these children into marriages, you find that the poverty within those families, sometimes it's not even the poverty. We have seen families who are actually well off that can facilitate the education of these children, but because of the attitude and mindset within that family, they will marry off that child, you know, before age, because of wanting to get dowry, because of this, and there are certain beliefs that people have, and you know, the beliefs are not even just within the parents, but even children have adopted those beliefs. If you go, for example, in northern Uganda, it is pride for these young people to marry when they are still young, because they believe you're still enjoyable, you get much dowry, you know. So there are a number of things. So you have to work with these children, help them appreciate themselves, you know, as children, and the role that they play. The parents themselves, how are they providing for their children? We appreciate that actually there could be poverty, you know, in our countries, and that's why as an organization we have been in position to engage with government, to make sure that we advocate for programs, you know, that uplift the incomes and livelihoods of those families. But some of our programs also have been targeting, you know, improving income of households and young people's income, so that they are not easily lured into those practices. They appreciate themselves and be in a position to decide on when they should get married and when they should get pregnant. All
right, thank you. Now let's talk about what activities does Plan International have in preparation and observation of the Day of the African Child?
We have a compendium of activities, and these activities are both at national and the district level, including the response, the refugee setting. You should also remember that as we talk about children, we're not just talking about the children that belong to Uganda. The laws provide that all children despite of their ethnicity, their tribe, religion, despite of their countries. So all children who are in Uganda, including those who are in the response,
Yes.
need, they have, or they're entitled to having access
Yes.
or enjoying their their rights. So as an organization, our activities are both at district, sub-county, and also at the national level. We plan, for example, at the district level to continue engaging with cultural leaders, because this is not the first time that we are engaging. But like I said, we are using this opportunity and platform and time to make sure that we are re-echoing. We make sure that they come out and recommit, to measure progress. For example, if we have been continuously engaging cultural leaders,
Yes.
it is the time now that we want accountability. How far have they gone, in responding to some of their commitments that they made in engaging parents, in changing some of the negative social norms within communities that affect, the lives of children. We will continue having conversations with them. We provide data,
Yes.
in communities for them to appreciate how they are accelerating. We shall be in position to engage the children themselves.
Yes.
We provide them with information. We continue to remind them of their roles and responsibility as children.
Yes.
We also use this opportunity to give them more other information that is going to strengthen them to ably, manage themselves as children, but also be in position to speak out, because there are so many children who are shut down. They can't
Yes.
even speak. So we use this opportunity to continue telling them, you can say this, but we also use this opportunity to make sure that we call upon other institutions, the police, courts of laws,
Yes.
where cases of children, are handled. We have seen corruption cases in communities where cases of children have been sabotaged. We have
Yes.
delayed justice
Yes.
for cases that are taken to court, and most of the cases are for children. I can give you an example.
Yes.
For example, the recent crime report, the recent police crime report, it reports numbers of 14,000, 300 and something cases of defilement. We have 8,000 cases of rape.
Rape.
We have 17,000 cases of domestic violence, and 14,000 of the 17, are cases of juvenile, and they are female.
Yes.
And if you go, for example, in courts of law, you'll find a backlog of cases, and these cases involve children. So delayed justice, for these children.
Yes.
Remember the perpetrators also that are protected by the law. They get back into the community and continue doing the same practice.
Thing, yes.
So we psychologically, the communities are affected, the children are affected, and the country, is not doing much around that. Actually, we've been having conversations with one of the judges who is a champion, of child rights, and her recommendation is that for cases that involve children, at least trial should be within a period of 6 months. We should not delay justice, for such cases, and we want to see government coming out to commit itself, to such instances. So conversations are beginning to take place. We have done analysis on different policies and laws. We want to see progress, and we have come up with recommendations that we are taking into our communities at different level: police, cultural leaders, parents, lawmakers, parliament, the councillors at district level. What role are they playing in terms of supporting implementation and making laws, that uphold the rights of children? Yes. So at the national level, we have organized a high-level policy dialogue where we have even invited the Speaker of Parliament, since she presides over the legislative arm of government. We want to see the role of Parliament in upholding the rights of children.
Yes.
Because the policies have been enacted.
Yes.
We have them, there are so many, but what is the problem? What is the problem? And as Parliament, what could be their oversight role?
Yes.
And other stakeholders have also been invited, the courts of law, the mother ministry that is responsible for children and youth. We should also understand that as a ministry, there are a number of things that they do in support of the children. They have campaigns. We have been going through a process of developing the national strategy to end child marriage. They launched the child policy.
Yes.
There are a number of things there are programs that have been put in place to support communities where these children live. You've heard of the recent parish development model.
Yes, I have.
Being tricked from other programs that have been provided by the government.
Yes.
All those are intended, you know, to
To help.
support
Yes.
communities, families, you know, to respond to the basic needs of these children.
Yes.
So they really try, but they're also limited in some cases
Some way.
by funding. You know, the ministry gets little funding, and so they are unable, you know, to provide services. For example, in districts, the probation and welfare officers,
Yes.
they don't have enough funding, apart from having monies to pay their salaries, monies to support their facilitation and providing, you know, the services of children.
Yes.
Is not, you know, is not
It's not enough,
adequate.
yes.
It's not enough. So for us this day, we are using it to re-echo and do a public cry to
Yes.
the various stakeholders that can we play our role and save the
Yes.
nation. You know that the biggest percentage of this the biggest population
Our
percentage of our
children.
population
Yes,
are children.
children.
So if we do not care about the quality of children that we are bringing up, you know, in the end, you shall not have people who are going to do the banking. You will not have customers, you know, because they will
Exactly.
not be in position
To
to
do so,
afford.
yes.
Yes, so we need to take care of those issues. Let it be private sector. They are all responsible, you know,
Yes.
for those issues.
All
yes.
right. Thank you so much. That was very, very elaborate. So for my next question, what harmful practices affecting children does Plan International focus on?
Like I mentioned that I think in my previous discussions,
Yes.
that there are a number of harmful practices, and people out there may be asking themselves, but what are harmful practices?
Yes.
So harmful practices, any form of abuse that has persistently, you know, happened or is happening within communities and has been accepted within that community, but it has an effect on children.
Yes.
And there are a number of them. To mention, we have female genital mutilation,
yes.
we have early and forced marriage, I've heard of breast flattening,
Yes.
we have also, it also includes harmful practices of refusing children to speak up, refusing children to make decisions, for example, you know, in a home, because it has an effect, you know, on children.
Yes.
But as Plan International, like I said, during this period, because of the justification and data that we have, for example, on teenage pregnancy and child marriage,
Yes.
but also as an organization in our new strategy that we will be launching, you know, sometime soon,
Yes.
you know, sometime this year, we are focusing on issues of ending violence, you know, against children, both in school but also out of school. So issues of child marriage and teenage pregnancy are very pertinent to us. So those are some of the key harmful practices that
harmful
we are
ones,
looking
yes.
at, because they have a direct implication, you know, on this girl, you know,
Yes.
limiting them from completing school, participating in other forms of activities as children to contribute to themselves, but also the development of this country.
Yes.
So teenage pregnancy and child marriage, you know, is a very big problem. And you're in media,
Yes.
you've been seeing numbers of rising cases of teenage pregnancies during
Yes.
the period.
Especially during the pandemic.
Exactly, and these numbers have not come down. So part of what we are doing as an organization is that we are also engaging to make sure that all children who are getting pregnant should also continue with school. You know, that's why you have heard of the school re-entry policy that
Yes.
Ministry of Education, you know,
Put in place,
put
yes.
in place. And right now, as an institution, as much as we participated in its development, we are also participating in its implementation.
Yes.
It is not easy. Remember, we are dealing with mindsets. People are not used to seeing pregnant girls like attending school, but the policy
yes.
is very clear that these children also deserve access, and that's the equality that we are talking about.
Yes.
If we leave these children to just stay at home, it means we are not recognizing, you know,
Yes.
the problem, and we are not addressing it in an equal way, because
Yes.
those who have impregnated them, they are either out of police, or they are male boys who are male and continuing with their education.
Exactly.
So we do not want to see this girl left behind, you know. So the equality comes in where we have policies that are going to bring that equality, and we are so much committed in supporting and working with institutions like Ministry of Gender to make sure that we implement such policies. practices.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So before I let you go, just do you have any special message from Plan International as we prepare for the Day of the African Child?
Of course, we have a special message.
Yes.
This day is very important. And looking at the harmful practices that we are talking about, child marriage and teenage pregnancies,
Yes.
this is not just the role of Plan International with our interventions that we do as an organization. We are doing a public cry that can all stakeholders come on board and come together
And play their
stop,
part.
play your part, and make sure that we stop and reduce instances of child marriage and teenage pregnancies. We need to see lawmakers take really their role. We need to see parents, cultural institutions, civil society organizations coming together through networks and coalitions to come up with a common voice and also design programs that are going to support
Yes.
in upholding the rights of children. So
Yes.
as we celebrate the day, let us come together and stop child marriages and teenage pregnancies and all other forms of harmful practices.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, that is all we had for you on this segment of the Twitter Jabs. Thank you so much, Ms. Diana Tibesigwa. And she's
Thank
an
you so
advocacy
much, yeah.
and influencing specialist at Plan International. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. It was lovely talking to you, and what you shared with us was absolutely insightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, don't go anywhere because we have more coming up on Sunrise at Sea. Coming up is a hit or miss segment in our lifestyle episode for today. This is Sunrise at Sea. Don't blink.